welcome along to the final whistle on this glorious Monday evening, the 18th of July 2022. Good evening, Anna Moore, and welcome.
Good evening, Pat. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Chris, and welcome.
Thank you very much, guys. Just back today now after 2 weeks of a nice little break. So
I know.
Decided we'd have an outside broadcast tonight.
Yes, we should have met at someone's house outside the back garden and had a barbecue going as well. Which we might plan one for a couple of weeks' time. But
we'd have got you to get the beers, but that would have been difficult.
For all of the people, we're going to start with GAA because our first most important competition finished yesterday, which is the Senior Hurling Championship for 2022, and Limerick created history. They become only the fourth hurling team to do 3 in a row, and the first time in their history. But it's no surprise, Anna, that they did the 3 in a row to you, was it?
Look, I'm telling a lie. I said I wasn't nervous yesterday because Kilkenny are such a team, and Cody is such a great manager, you know. But you had to believe in Limerick because they never give up. I mean, they played Galway, they barely got them. They played Clare, it had to go to extra time. But Limerick, they're a physical team. They work hard. And, you know, I'd be watching and I'd say, oh, wow, that's great. They just get the ball, they pass it to each other, and they know exactly where each other are going to be, Pat, you know?
Yeah.
Brilliant to watch.
And Chris, did you get to see the match?
I did. I was watching it in Munich airport, waiting for my flight home. And with the courtesy of Munich Airport's fantastic Wi-Fi system, and me having a streaming system, which I'm not allowed to say where I got it from, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think that was probably one of the best All-Ireland finals you're likely ever to see. We were kind of looking at the news last week, and we thought that, well, okay, it's going to be a hot day. It's probably strange that Limerick have probably played on the coldest All-Ireland final and probably the hottest All-Ireland final on the space of about 18 months. They started well. I think, to be honest with you, there's a couple of things that need to be said straight out. And that while Kilkenny are a team that's built on defence. Kilkenny were lucky that Cian Lynch and Peter Casey weren't playing yesterday because there was room in that full forward line for serious damage. The problem that Limerick have is that, okay, I think this is probably one of the greatest hurling teams you are likely to see, because to win 4 out of 5 All-Irelands, it's not easy to do these days with amateur players and all that. And I just got the feeling that, you know, Limerick's weaker point this year was the midfield. Okay, I'm not saying they're poor. It's the weakest point of their team, and you can actually see that when you see the team of the year that was named last night for Sunday game, that none of the Limerick midfielders got a mention, from what I can see.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, Kilkenny fought the way Kilkenny were always going to fight. No one has doubt that. But there's 2 things that you will beat Kilkenny, this current Kilkenny team. Is one, if you don't foul. And if TJ Reid wasn't there, then Kilkenny would have awful trouble, because it was only when the likes of Walter Walsh, who in my opinion is that he's coming to the autumn of his career, that he actually turned the game a little bit in Kilkenny's favour from half time. I mean, the freeze, how Kilkenny were only 2 or 3 points down at half time when they were clearly under pressure. I mean, Limerick scored a goal in 17. Limerick could have scored 3:25 by half time. Yeah. They were so far out in front, but the freeze were keeping Kilkenny in the game. And like once you get a team that is within 4 or 5 points, a goal, as you know, Pat, can make a big difference.
It can. And Kilkenny, before I go down, Kilkenny only got 6 points to play in the first half. You know,
that's my point, Pat. They scored 14, 15 points.
Yeah.
But they scored. I mean, TJ Reid, as good as a player is, I'm not doubting his credentials and whatever, but the fact is that under serious pressure, he did not score from play. And when you get TJ Reid not scoring from play, and about 2 or 3 other Kilkenny forwards not contributing on the scoreboard, I mean, I said this about 3 or 4 years ago, that you would need to score 25 times in a hurling match to be in contention. Kilkenny scored 28 times and still lost.
Yeah, but Limerick scored 30.
That's the point. Yeah, but that's the point. But my point is, and that was 4 or 5 years ago I said that, Pat. Now the game has moved on. The game has moved on. And on a hot day like that, people are just going to shoot from all angles.
That's right. And Anna, surely the man of the match to me was Garrod Hegarty in the All-Ireland final, without a shadow of a doubt. Because Anna, you remember his dad, Ger Hegarty, playing.
Ger. I do, Pat. He was a great player.
Ger was a strong bull of a man, and of course that's where Garrod is a big, strong man. Yeah. He's phenomenal. You can't knock him.
Of course, up our side of the city, we're very proud of him because he lives in our area, you know.
Yeah.
But you know what's surprising? And you look at the Limerick team, and they're there so long. You think they're a lot older, and they're not. They're still only in their early 20s, you know. But I thought that Brady was that man from Kilkenny. Reid wasn't that his name? I thought he was. I thought he was very, very good. I thought, Hegarty definitely deserved it. But I thought that if Hegarty wasn't there, he was very, very good. He would have been in line for it, I would have thought.
Well, of course, it's all our opinions here on the finalists, but just getting back to you, Chris, I thought myself, being from Cork, I'd be a bit biased. I thought the finest half-back that I saw playing, now obviously there have been better before and after, what I'm saying in my time watching hurling was Sean O'Halpine, Ronan Curran and John Gardner. But I must say, as a unit, but what I am saying, Tom Kinney was briefly a cornerback or a wing back, but he went to midfield in with Jerry O'Connor. But the Limerick half back line, and to me, Hannon to me is a phenomenal hurler. You know, I hope they'll mind him for next year because he's a phenomenal hurler.
Well, I'll dispute your half back line with Cork. I think the best half back line in Cork. Well, I can name two of them offhand straight away, and that was Dermot McCurtain, Tom McCashman, and probably Jim Cashman, without a doubt. And then you have like John Fenton midfield, who is probably one of the sweetest hurlers you're ever likely to pay money to watch. But Hannon is just, Hannon just glides around the field.
He does.
And sometimes you don't even see him being there, but his positional play is unreal. And Dermot Burns does a lot of the stuff for him, right? And I think, you know what? I think the two cornerbacks are exceptional. Finn sticks to you like glue.
Sean Finn.
And Barry Nash is just basically, he's a ball striker, complete ball striker.
Yeah.
But I do agree that about Declan Hannon, but I think the heartbeat of that Limerick team is unbelievably Garrod Hegarty. I think the guy is a rugby player. He should be playing rugby. He has the physique of a rugby player or a long distance athlete. He's just huge, absolutely huge, and he just glides around the field. He reminds me of Derek Cornan from Clare. He has that long stride. He doesn't run fast, but his long stride just takes and glides past people.
Yeah.
And there was for the goal. The goal was, that one of the best goals you were ever likely to see at Croke Park. And then he scored a point that from the Hogan stand side that drew in over the ball, that I think from one lad I was talking to this evening said the whole place just nearly fell apart, that it was just like watching someone hitting an iron into the
only negative for me watching the All-Ireland RT was Matty Morris. He was shocking, but that's just me.
You know what? He seems to do this thing every year when the parade goes round, of writing a monologue that goes around, and I reckon he just takes a few words from 2019 and puts them into 2022.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know who's writing the script. I hope it's him, because nobody else should get the credit for it.
Well, before we leave hurling, we'll come back to it again. The Sunday game, which is the Premier GA program on RT television here, that looks back at the game over the weekend every Sunday.
I haven't seen it yet, Pat. I haven't seen it yet. Don't just spoil it for me.
They picked the team of the year, and they had 8 Limerick, 3 Kilkenny, 3 Tara, 1 Galway. I picked my team of the year before I even read that this morning, I'm telling you no word of a lie, I had 12 Limerick players on it. I had one from Kilkenny, one from Galway, and one from Clare. That was my team of the year.
Okay. I looked at it. Connor, my son, called it out when I was driving home from Dublin last night.
Yeah.
I have a couple of problems I would have with that team. First of all, how Conor Whelan, thank you very much, just having coffee delivered to me.
Where's
thank
mine?
you very much. Yours is on the way, Pat. Conor Whelan was the best Galway forward on show. Only when they gave him the ball. Sure, when you can't get the ball, you do not. You can't do much. Every time he got the ball, he scored. How he wasn't picked for that team last night, I don't know. And TJ Reid as full forward and Seamus Flanagan not getting picked. They basically manipulated the team to accommodate certain players, you know. And I think they should have went back to the days where if you played at number 12, you picked at number 12.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
And I must, in case all my Cork fans, this is only a personal thing, in case all my Cork fans won't talk to me again, I thought that only for Declan Hannon, I thought young Joyce from Cork, who's only 20 years of age, had a phenomenal year at centre-back. You must remember it was his first year up in senior, 1 year and a half anyway. He had a phenomenal time at centre-back. He was one of the few Cork players that had a consistency in every match he played. Obviously, you couldn't pick him before Declan Hannon. I know that. You know, but if there was no Declan Hannon, to me, he'd be.
I would be, if I was Seamus Flanagan, I'd be very disappointed I wasn't on that team because he took clear part. In the most 8 points.
Well, I had him on my team, yeah.
Definitely Conor Whelan for Galway should have been on that team.
Yeah. And there was three Clare players on it. I think they probably did deserve it. I think O'Donnell played phenomenal hurling. I think Tony Kelly did.
Where did they put Tony Kelly, corner forward? So Tony Kelly doesn't play corner forward. I mean, that he's either a centre forward or he's playing around midfield. I mean, again, it smacks of like, say, let's put Christy Ring on goals just to get him on the team.
I know. Now, Anna, were you up early Saturday morning?
No, I was in Dublin boxing Friday and Saturday.
You were boxing. Now, Chris, were you up early Saturday morning?
Well, I had the luxury of the extra hour from time difference, so it was early, but not too early.
Yeah, it was 9 o'clock, was it?
9 o'clock, yeah. Just in time for breakfast.
Ireland, of course, won the series of tests in Australia against the All Blacks, 2-1, won by 32-22. It was a phenomenal result, but I think some of them are going to be overboard. They were saying that was the best sporting result ever in the history of sport in Ireland, which is...
Why are we trying to compare apples and oranges?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. But I mean... If Ireland gets into the semi-final of the World Cup, to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Pat. I remember having this discussion on one of our earlier programs where you questioned Andy Farrell.
Yes.
Right. I'm good. I'm just so good. I have a long memory.
I know. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, one of the reasons why I made sure I was late coming tonight, but I must apologise for that. But that I really wanted to come tonight was not only to talk about the magnificent All-Ireland final, but to talk about the fantastic job that Andy Farrell is doing with an Irish team.
Absolutely. Did you watch, sorry for calling you, did you watch the beginning of the match between New Zealand and Ireland? I didn't watch it live, I watched it afterwards.
I saw the whole match.
Yeah, at the beginning of the game, of course, to be churlish, there was 20 All Blacks on the field.
You better explain that one to me.
15 for obviously the All Blacks and 5 Ireland.
Okay. Right. Okay. So, fine. Now, the English will always complain about the Irish soccer team having fellas that were born in England, as if they used to say, well, all you need to do is go to Dublin on a weekend, drink a pint of Guinness, and Jack Charlton will...
No, the Irish soccer players had to have an Irish grandmother.
Yeah, have it. But that was the joke that they said. However, the English team, the English cricket team, rugby team...
I don't think Van der Flyer has an Irish grandmother.
And are you sure about 15 New Zealanders that play for New Zealand? Are you sure about that?
Well, I mean, they've been poaching Samoans for years, haven't they?
Poaching them.
What's the word I'm talking about?
There's a word that I would say recruiting.
Huh? Recruiting, I beg your pardon.
I was going to use a word that might get me into trouble, so I refuse to reuse it. But I would say recruitment would be the word that would be
encouraging.
That's very polite, Chris. Very polite.
You should have seen. You should hear the word that I was going to use, Anna.
I think I know the word.
Anyway, they
Something going from Calais to Dover at the moment.
They did a fantastic job. England, of course, won the series against Australia, and Wales put up a credible performance in South Africa. Scotland were beaten by the Pumas, Argentina, but that was unfortunately, that's the way that turned out. But I mean, it augurs well for Ireland.
It augurs well for what the problem, and we've been on this about this for the last couple of years, is that Ireland's priority is not. So, look, the World Cup is what 15 months away. They're in the wrong end of the draw to get through after quarter final. We've got Johnny Sexton who'll be 38 then, lads, and
But Chris, I was looking at the match and I can't understand, not because he's from Cork. Peter O'Mahony. Is Peter O'Mahony getting better the older he gets?
It's a bit like your broadcasting talent, Pat.
Well, anyway, Chile.
I don't know what you're going to sound like when you're 96, but I'll hang on to find out.
Lads, sorry, Pat, can you explain this to me? Right. So Ireland now are supposed to be ranked number 1 in the world.
Yeah, because of results. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. But just because they beat the All Blacks, is that it?
No.
Yeah,
I know I follow rugby to an extent of Ireland or Munster, but I wouldn't know the criteria.
Yeah, I know.
For
how you come up in numbers.
Well, what happens, Anna, is this, right? Is that because the All Blacks are ranked higher, right? It's a bit like, say, in gymnastics, there's a higher degree of difficulty, right? So when you try and do like a bigger jump, or like in ice skating, you do like a quadruple jump, they give you extra marks. So if Ireland were playing Georgia, they wouldn't get that many marks.
No.
But if Ireland are playing New Zealand, they get more marks for it. So because they beat them twice over 3 weeks, their points are going sky high. Now, it might change again in the next few weeks because the Rugby Championship takes over. New Zealand will be playing South Africa, and they'll be playing Australia. So it might change. It kind of goes up and down. They seem to be bringing out these world rankings after every match. I think what they should do is what they do in soccer, do it every maybe month.
I was just going to say it's different than soccer.
And we must give a nod. We must give a nod to Chile. The first time ever they qualified for the Rugby World Cup. They beat the USA in the USA, which is a big surprise, and on an aggregate 2-match score, which is phenomenal, really, for Chile, a team like Chile, a country like Chile. But Chile have joined now, just for people, in case you didn't look it up. Chile are in England, Argentina, Japan, Samoa, and Chile completes Pool D now for the Rugby World Cup. So well done to Chile. Nice, strong, hardy team, small physically, but strong. So we wish them well. And it's nice to see a new team in the Rugby World Cup, a new team.
Pat, what was nice to see as well? It was lovely to see, and I was very proud to see Keith Earls captain the Irish team. I think that for a Limerick person, I think everyone in Limerick was so proud of that.
He's been a phenomenal player for Ireland, Keith Earls.
He's an absolute gentleman. He's a gentleman.
Yeah. Now we're going to move along to soccer. Lewandowski, of course, completed his move to Barcelona. I thought Man U would be in the frame for him. There were rumours, but no. Lewandowski has gone to Barcelona.
I'll tell you now. The talk I was in where his current residence was for the last couple of days, the talk. I was in Munchen, and the locals are telling me that it was basically Uli Hoeneß, who used to play for Germany in the 60s and 70s.
I remember him, yeah.
Basically, he was the, well, how would I say this diplomatically? The disgraced president that was jailed for corruption and tax evasion. And basically, there was an unwritten agreement that they let him go after a certain period of time for a nominal amount, maybe a free transfer. But it was basically Bayern says, we want 50 million, and they're getting their 50 million. They were going to do an installment, but they realized that Bayern don't have the money. So the intention was that it was like going to be a free transfer, and that Lewandowski's salary will be similar to what he's getting at Bayern to compensate for that. But then I think the board was swayed that they want their 50 million so they can be able to pay for the Sané Mane transfer. So that's
I know, and Manchester United have completed the signing of Martinez from Ajax for £57 million or something like that. Gareth Bale,
I haven't even heard that guy. And he's 57 million. I mean, can I give you a quick story about how shocking soccer is at the moment, right? So we went on holidays, right? And my young lad had spending money, right? And he wanted to get the new Bayern Munich jersey. So on Saturday afternoon, when we were just getting into the city centre, he goes to the Bayern Munich shop. And they've got jerseys. And he goes and have a look at the jersey. And there's names on it. And he's going to have a look at that. And it's apparently it says it's the genuine article. These are the jerseys that the players wear. Turned around, looked at the price tag, €139.
Oh my God!
All right, and even the
go on,
139.99, and even Connor said, "Dad, I'm not buying that." Right. So the following day, on the Sunday, we went to a different shop. Or on the Saturday, so we were on the Friday, so the Saturday we went to a different shop, and he got a jersey for 89, same jersey. The only difference is it's the replica, not the. So basically, what they're doing is they're telling people that this is the jersey that the likes of Thomas Muller and Lewandowski are wearing compared to that kind of jersey, which they're not wearing. And it's €50 extra.
But it looks the same, Chris. It looks the same colours, same jersey.
Well, the problem is, you see, is that the Bayern Munich shop assistants are saying it may look like a duck, it may sound like a duck, it may walk like a duck, but it's not a duck.
Now, Gareth Bale made his debut. He came on as a sub in Los Angeles LAFC over the weekend, and they won away 2-1 against Nashville. I'm watching American soccer lately at night, particularly if I can't sleep, And
I was just going to say insomnia, is it?
It's pretty because of the heat. It's pretty good. I like watching it, actually. It's on one of those free channels anyway. It's on all night, but
I knew there was a catch to it, Pat. It had to be something for free.
I wouldn't pay for it yet. Like Ibrahimovic has signed a 1-year deal at 40 years of age. I always love watching him, lads. I know what you think of him. He signed a 1-year deal with AC Milan. That's I don't know. Wasn't he with United for a while? Was he Ibrahimovic? Was he?
He was in the Premiership anyway. He was in the Premiership with someone.
I can't think who he was with.
Oh, hang on. Give me 1 second.
He was.
Connor who did Zlatan play for England?
Zlatan.
Yeah, he played for United.
Now, there's been a lot of disparaging remarks about different managers and soccer team as you get over the media when they're stuck for stories there. I won't say they make up stuff, but they gossip like anyone would, like any of us would. But I think, Chris, you kind of the phrase I was reminded over the weekend, Ten Hag for 10 months. And I think that looking at what he's Ten Hag for 10 months. Well, it's hanging around your neck anyway. There's no doubt about that for this season coming.
Did I say that?
You did. One of my assistants here, he said, "Oh, Chris said that in your show one night." This is Are you telling me that you actually listen to the show? I do. But I remember him saying that. Well, he must have.
Can I get their name and telephone number and send them out?
Just toe in cheek, like Ten Hag for 10 months. But what is he doing in Man United with the team? Has he any money from the club to buy decent players?
No. Of course he hasn't. But they don't want to go there. I mean, who's your man? Marcus, what's man? Freddie de Jong, Frankie de Jong. Sure, that's going to be dragged out to the end of August.
That's terrible.
But she doesn't want to go. Sure,
I don't know.
Pat, what you didn't say either is that Wayne Rooney's gone to America. He's gone to manage DC.
He is.
Well, there's a reason for that. I think
they're saying that his wife and his children won't go there.
Are you sure about that? I think it's opposite. I think because after the trial, they need to get out of town for a while.
No, she won't go. She didn't like DC at all, and I read today that she's refusing to go with the children.
I almost forgot, before we the final whistles of the program, tell all your friends about us. Press the red button on the right hand side to subscribe to our channel. and info@lermedia is our email.
Well,
Golf.
about just 1 second about that. About you asked the question about Man United at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. They struggle because they're not in the Champions League. Nobody wants to play in the conference or whatever league that they're in the moment. On Thursday
Europa
night.
League.
Yeah, they're playing Thursday night. When you're playing Thursday, you're playing Sunday, no matter what. They don't want that. Players don't want that.
Yeah.
Completely disrupts their routine. And they know themselves that they are light years away from competing at the top level. Liverpool are only going to get stronger. Man City are going to get stronger. Chelsea seem to have a new impetus, a new board. They
bought in a few
might do
players.
something.
Chelsea bought in a few players. Spurs don't seem to be buying anyone either. But anyway, look, we'll wait.
Spurs don't. But when was the last time Spurs bought a player?
I know. And Liverpool are doing okay.
They're doing. I know we lost 4-0 to Man United away in Singapore or somewhere. But I mean, I wouldn't be one bit. It was all kids that were on. But what I like about what Klopp is doing, he's playing all the academy kids. He's playing them. He's giving them a chance pre-season. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's lovely. That's lovely to see.
It is.
Pat. That's lovely to
see.
That's the
same.
Of course.
That's the same of what Conte is doing with Spurs. He's making. I mean, even Troy Parrott is doing the pre-season. He's going to give him an opportunity. I mean, when I was away, I heard that Troy Parrott was by far the fittest person in training.
But it's lovely to see it.
It is. Now, we'll move on quickly to the golf, lads. Derwin Honan is up in Scotland still. I was in an exchange with him today online. He's promoting his, I'll kill me stone dead if I forget the name of the company. I'll mention it, Derwin, before we're finished.
Get it right, Pat. Get it right.
I'll get it right. Anyway, I'll ask herself out there. Anyway.
You better get it right with the invoice.
We'll put up the logo at the end of the show for you, Darwin. But the best of luck with that. And he'll be back with us next week. Anyway, the 150th Open I was delighted to see a golfer like Cameron Smith winning. He has a personality. He looks to be a character. And of course, he's going to Live Golf. Cameron Smith will be going over to Live Golf now with the Claret Jug. Stenson, Fleetwood, Leishman, Bubba Watson, Adam Scott, and Hideki Matsuyama. They're all being very strongly favoured to go over to Live Golf. I think it should be the more quickly they're assimilated into the regular golfing tour, the better, I think, for golf. And forget about this out sniping. And McIlroy has been the worst of them all for the sniping, sticking his nose into other people's business. And he should concentrate on his golf, and he might win another major. What do you think, Chris?
First of all, I think you've been harsh on McIlroy because basically, he's been very honest and open answering questions. He could do what Phil Mickelson has said and says, I've asked you a bloody question so many times. Or he could do what Graham McDowell do and talk a load of nonsense. I think McIlroy has been speaking sensible. He's the front and centre basically because he's on the PGA Tour board as a player's rep. That's why he's been brought out front and centre. It's not probably doing his golf game any good, although he did play well this week. The problem about McIlroy this week was that he probably was too conservative. And he probably thought, he probably played like a team that were 2-0 up and then lost 3-2. That's what happened. They always say 2-0 is the worst lead to defend in soccer. But I do think now it's come to the point that the European Tour is a dead duck. And because there's no money in the tour, on the European Tour.
No.
And I think it's coming to the point now where some serious players are going to have to sit down around the round table and basically come to and say, right, lads, let's see what we can do about this. Because what's happening is this, and I mentioned it here before, the biggest problem here is that you have the first 48 that went over, right? And some of them are people that you've never heard of and you will never hear of again. And once the big boys like you, the 4 or 5 that you mentioned come, then at least 10 or 12 people will be dropped off that tour with the 10 million that they got and said, thanks, but no thanks, you've done your job for us. And the problem is, and they'll be forgotten, and their careers are over because they'll have nowhere to go. So I think what's going to happen is that once we get to a situation where the Tour Championship ends at the end of August, then during the off season, for American phrase, that some people from each of these guys are going to have to sit around and do some serious talking and thinking.
Well,
Chris, sorry, Pat. Chris, I don't follow golf as such. I'll watch it, all right. But is there a breakaway? There seems to be. We say you'd have all the tours, but now they seem to have other tournaments as well. Is there a breakaway?
What's basically happened is that this is all stemming from. I wouldn't say it's a grudge that Greg Norman has held over the last 30 years, but there is an acknowledgement that the PGA are not paying in prize money what they should be doing. And and they actually proved their point this year a couple of occasions. And I'll tell you why. Last year, the Players Tournament, which is normally known as the fifth major, which Cameron Smith won. Last year, the winner of that got $2.6 million. This year, it was $3.2 million, right? Up by, 20%? Okay. The PGA went up by 20%. The US Open went up by 20%. Even the British Open went up by 20%, maybe more, 25%. So Norman's point was that there's money there that the PGA are not paying out to the players. And you know what? He's been proven right because someone has basically taken a cash point to the PGA conference and says, Jesus, lads, we need to pay these players, are all going to go. But even that's not good enough. No. And what's happened is, and I said it to a guy tonight, what's happened is that my fear of all this, and I mentioned this here about 2 or 3 months ago with Derwin on the show, that my problem is that the first 48 who are going on that tour, you would not know at least 15 to 20 of them. They are the lightweights that are making up the field. Once somebody like Ian Poulter or Sergio Garcia or Henrik Stenson sees that a journeyman from nowhere can win 1 or 2 million in one tournament, they're going to say, well, if he can take that, I'm going for it myself. And that's what's happening.
Well, I must tell you, Chris and Anna, I don't gamble or anything anymore, but since I would be watching the golf over the weekend, the 4 days, I said I'd back 3 golfers. I put 50p each way on 3 golfers to finish up within the top 12 they were paying. I backed Victor Hovland, I backed DJ Johnson, and I backed Patrick Cantlay, and they all
finished. So they be 3 outsiders, Pat, would they?
Well, 40 to 1 was Hovland and 25 to 1 was Johnson. But I backed Lowry as well. I backed for him. Sorry, Shane Lowry. Disappointing for me. He finished 900 at the end, but I think he had 1 or 2 rounds. But Cameron Smith, breath of fresh air, great interview. He gave, I was going to play it on the other stream, but I can't play it on this. But nice. But anyway, that was the golf for the week. And you were boxing. What was on Saturday?
We had the finals of our senior cadets.
And how did that go?
It went fine. We have a complete new officer board. Those that broke away from us done a very, 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 very good campaign and deposed all of our officers and 6 of our 8 members of our central council. I was one of the ones that got voted back in, and Peter O'Donnell from Donegal.
So what are you on now? Are you calling the shots?
No, I'm a member, and the part about it is that I will be going up on Saturday to a meeting that the people that went against council were expelled. They got back in. They done a brilliant campaign during the election. Yeah. And they now have the majority on Central Council.
So that was...
There'll be 4 from Leinster, 1 from Dublin, 1 from Connacht, 1 from Munster, and 1 from Ulster.
And they obviously, the EGM that was held in, was it Roscommon? The EGM that was held was supposed to, not rubber stamp, but agree to the proposals from the Minister for Sport, Jack Chambers, and also from the Sports Council about funding and about governance and all that. But it didn't get the votes at the EGM.
No, I think that Jack Chambers, he was the downfall of that because he threatened people. He threatened boxing. Yep. Our funding will be taken. You can't do that to an organisation and get away with it.
No.
You cannot do that. The one I'm disappointed in, see, we had a board of directors.
Yeah.
And we had so many outsiders and so many boxing people equal, but then you had the chairperson that would have the final vote. And the boxing people rarely won. So 2 years ago, it was decided in Glissal and County Mayo that the boxing would be given back to the stakeholders who are the clubs. And we will get 2 extra people, 2 extra directors, right? So there was 4 people put their names forward, 4 very good people. And it didn't keep, every time it was supposed to pick two, it never happened. And that's why we say the 3 units pulled away from Central Council. But the mistake was Central Council had nothing to do with the board of directors. So it really wasn't Central Council's fault. But now with these recommendations of the McNally report, what they're saying is they want to establish 6 and 6. Now that's gone back to what we had 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have had 6 and 6, but they're saying 6 outsiders, 6 boxing people. The chairperson will still have their vote. But it's not just about that, Pat. There's 64 recommendations they want passed. And a lot of them, there's a few I would agree with, but a lot of them that if you were a boxing person, a boxing club, you couldn't agree with.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're volunteers. They're not talking about volunteers. But the part about it is that the second recommendation they were voting on, I wasn't there because family circumstances. I was disappointed in was we were supposed to have our AGM in Belfast.
Yeah.
And when all this kicked off, somebody turned around and said, it can't be held in Belfast because it's out of the state. And a company cannot go out of the state to have a meeting. Right? So they rephrased it to get it through, I believe, on 2 weeks ago, where it said, instead of state, we'd say the island of Ireland.
Yeah.
Now, the vote, you needed 75% of the vote.
You do?
Most of the people did vote in favour of it, but they didn't get 75%. So
it got 66%.
It's defeated.
Yes,
so it was defeated.
So
that to me was very, very bad, Pat. I was heartbroken when I heard that.
I know. Anyway, we hope now, obviously, most of the people you're speaking about are doing this free of charge for years and years.
Yes.
And the politicians take note of that, and if boxing has been our most successful sport by a long, long shot, and the Olympics going way back to 1956 to the time of Fred Tate and all of that. So people should be cognizant of that, you know, and the honour they brought to the country. So
I think the minister should never have come out with the statement he came out with.
But
he cut 15%. He cut 15% of our budget since last Monday.
That's
and
right.
He said by the end of the year, if we don't sort it out, in other words, if we don't agree with what they want.
Before we finish up, we have to look forward briefly to next weekend to Kerry and Galway in the football. Chris, who would have thought that Galway and Kerry would meet in the All-Ireland final?
Well, I think, honestly, when you look at the last 4, a lot of people fancied Kerry against Dublin, and I probably would have gone for Galway myself against Derry, to be totally honest with you. I didn't see much of the Dublin Kerry match. I'm going to be honest with you, but I heard it was an extremely tight finish. As for their Galway and Derry, well, I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, the scoring alone would suggest that it was a poor game. Okay, I think the main talking point out.
You're right. It was the worst semi-final I have seen since 1974, in my opinion.
Yeah, the biggest talking point I think came out was the disgraceful. I don't know. There's a problem with Hawkeye, and I said this before, that you wouldn't see decisions at Wimbledon like that.
No.
Over Hawkeye, and it turned out that the GAA are paying Hawkeye $8,000 a match. Now, okay, they got it right on Sunday, but I think they had no other choice but to get it right yesterday, because if they didn't,
it was all over. If Anthony went wrong,
it was gone.
It was gone.
It was gone. But I think, to be honest with you, the story that came out was that Galway refused to come out for the second half unless that point went back on the board. That was the chairman that said that, and then Pádraic Joyce, the manager, said, "Well, we didn't actually say that." So somehow the truth is caught between a good story and whatever. So I don't know.
But the referee, they restored the points.
They did give it back to them.
They did give the point back. So it was all square at half time, but.
Yeah. But I think
I think Galway have more.
The big row afterwards.
And Anna, will you be shouting for Kerry or Galway?
Oh, Kerry. My daughter-in-law is from Kerry.
Oh.
And my granddaughter follows Kerry in the football and Limerick. And she was actually at the semi-final. Her dad brought her to the semi-final against Dublin, and she loved it. But it was so warm. The heat was so warm, he had to take her out of the stand because it was too warm. But what I want to say about the Limerick hurling and what you call it, Kilkenny yesterday, my God, credit to both teams, Pat. The heat must have been unbelievable, and they still hurled so well.
They did. Credit to both teams. It was a fabulous final. And as I said, Limerick has won it now in 2021 and 22. Kilkenny did it recently there in 6, 7, and 9.
8 and 9. They won 4 in a row.
And Tipperary did it, of course. Cork did it in 41-2-3, 52-3-4, 76-7 and 8. And way back at turn of the century. Limerick, I suppose, just before we leave hurling, just to leave the programme, I was thinking about it today. The top hurling teams now, I suppose, in the country as we sit here tonight would be Limerick, Kilkenny, Galway and Clare. Top 4, would you agree with that?
Kilkenny.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about that. I mean, Clare were very disappointed in the semi-final. They didn't. They just were suffocated. I think I'm not so sure whether they bought into the fact that it was going to be an almost All-Ireland final. I mean, I said the only way you're going to beat Kilkenny is making sure you shoot them. That's to be honest with you, because they have more lives than 9 of them.
I thought that, Chris, I thought Clare, because they had such a good final in the Munster final against Limerick. They were better than what they actually were.
It was actually probably Limerick's worst. It was probably Limerick's worst day of the camp. I mean, Clare played to their optimum that day. But Limerick's, and I've said this before about Limerick seemed to train for 90 minutes because they seem to factor the extra 5 or 10 minutes per half, and it seems to factor that these matches could go to extra time. If you look at the extra time minutes against Clare, Clare were on their feet. They were out. They were dead. And Limerick could have played for another half an hour if they wanted to. And we were discussing during the week that if it was a warm day, that it would be Limerick that would kick on in the last 5 minutes, and that's exactly what they did. They scored 5 points after they were level, and then we'd go into injury time. Okay, they gave away 3, but as long as they weren't going to give away another goal, they were home and host.
So Anna, you're going for Kerry next Sunday, are you?
I am.
And Chris?
It's just Kerry all the way.
Well,
I think the final was last Sunday.
I think I'll go
Kerry and Dublin.
I think I'll go for Galway with sausage.
I'll just say this, Pat. I'll just say this before you go. I was talking to a couple of people today now, right? And I was talking to a fellow who was at the match yesterday, right? A guy from 6 Mile Bridge, and he said that he walked in for the presentation of the 95 and 97 team for Clare and 96 for Wexford, and the place was empty at 2:30, and it was only to about 5 minutes before the game started that it was full. And I think this is where you miss a good curtain raiser before an All-Ireland final.
Yeah.
Because you do need to have some match of some significance played. And if it's all the better, if it's one team that's from the senior competing counties to get the crowd in. I mean, one thing that I did hear that was a cracking atmosphere when the game was on, but there was no atmosphere. And I always think, and to me, one of the best parts of the All-Ireland final is the half an hour beforehand.
Yeah.
Okay. I've always loved that half an hour build-up of anticipation beforehand.
That's right.
But one thing is that a lot of complaints about the Irish rugby team is that people don't go out of the bars and the and the restaurants in Lansdowne Road until it started. And then everyone's scrambling for the seats and you're in somebody's way for the first 5-10 minutes because you can't be bothered to come in on time. And that's now what seems to happen now, because I've said before, this split season, I mean, I just think it's totally wrong to have at this stage on a fine midsummer's day to be thinking the next time I'm going to see a hurling match is going to be next January.
Yeah, at the 18th of July, there's no more hurling till next February.
And you can say all you want about when they got the club, but in all honesty, I have no interest in how a team in Wexford or a team in Cork or a team in County Derry are doing. That's not. I watch one team. That's my own club team, and they may only play 3 matches a year, depending on.
I was reading today that somebody said that it's much better in September because the kids are back at school and the atmosphere in the school and the whole lot is much better in September than it is now, because all the kids are off school, but when they're all together, the atmosphere is much better.
It's, in my opinion, Anna, it's a promotional disaster, and it'll come home in a couple of months' time when the rugby season starts again, and everyone is going to say, well, we went nowhere for the last 6 weeks. We might as well go and watch Munster or Leinster or whatever. And do you know what? I just feel that these matches have been in decent taste. Limerick have played 7 top-class hurling matches in 13 weeks. Right?
But you did Chris, you did say in February that you thought that it would be a disaster because you said that those that would be playing club hurling, because the ground would be so hard from the frost, that they would actually hurt themselves, and some of them did.
Yeah, and that look, listen, the problem that you have about playing so early in the season is this, right? Is that, I mean, they're all clamoring for the split season to protect. The GAA were afraid about 3 years ago that the club players would go on strike.
Well, I have to ask you. I have to ask you before we go, Chris. To my friend Andy, reminded me of the Tin Hag for 10 months. You didn't mean that about it for all Man United fans. You wish him well, I presume.
So as I was saying about the hurling, Pap.
So from Alex, it was great to see you. You're looking great again.
Pat, before you go, what did Darwin tell you to say?
To mention these Dragonfly Golf, lads. Dragonfly Golf. Go on their website. Just came into my head. Thank God, Darwin. All is saved. You can stay at the 19th, Darwin, but not till next Monday. Just finish up early. So from Chris Price, from Anna Moore, myself, lads, it's been a blast again. Take care and enjoy the rest of the evening. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.